Now, to introduce our next guest, one thing I want to say is address some of those out there who I know have the habit of, that you go to church Sunday morning and then you go to work and you almost tend to lead separate lives. You have your church life, you have your work life, and you may have to question yourself, well, how do I, really tell people about Christ in church? Should I tell people? And I mean, nowadays,
it's a difficult thing for some folks.
Nowadays, I think you could actually get in trouble for talk about Christ in some workplaces. But right now, we're here with Market Ministry, who is a MarketFaith ministry, excuse me, who's here to address exactly that, showing your faith in the marketplace. And so one of our guests is no stranger to Atlanta Live. He's been here several times. I enjoy him every time he's here. And that's Dr. Tal Davis is here with us. And also Freddy Davis, no relation.
They're not brothers.
But he's
brothers in the Lord.
He is. There you go, Brothers in the Lord. Well-authored guy of some of these great books right here. Pastor, CEO, What They Didn't Teach You in Seminary. Mm-hmm. And we have...
Praying is not for wimps.
But we're not...
This is for you, Rick.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. Right. We're not done. We got Culture Wars, What You Believe Does Matter.
And then Worldview Witnessing, how to confidently share Christ with anyone.
Which is probably a great way to start this conversation. So right now, let's welcome Freddy Davis and Tal Davis.
It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And
did you see Rick?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just
Rob,
high five. There you go.
Good to be with you.
Go ahead.
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Well, we've enjoyed spending time with you in the Ready Room and talking about your ministry, and it's very interesting. And when I was just sharing with you, Freddy, about my father's passion for the Colts and how he's with the Lord now. I'm sure he's watching down saying, I love this part. But he's taught for years about the different cults and how to witness to them and that kind of thing. And you guys major on that kind of thing, and I know this is your passion as well. Tell us a little bit about your ministry, MarketFaith Ministry, exactly what you do, some of the things that you're involved in, and give us an education about what you do.
Well, just a quick background. I was an can't even say it, international missionary.
We all have that problem
for nearly 17 years. And of course, one of the things that's necessary for a person that is going to another culture, to another group of faith options, it's part of the missionary skill set that we have to learn. And so you have to adapt to who you're interacting with and learn to see things from their perspective. Right. And when we left to go overseas back in the early 80s, it was a different America at that time than it was when we returned. Oh. And when, of course, we had the opportunity to be in Japan for nearly 12 years, and then after the Iron Curtain fell, we were in Latvia for 5 years. Came back to America, and it was like coming back to another culture. And so a part of my opportunity during that time was to learn how to engage myself in different cultures and with people of different beliefs. Yeah. Came back to America, and I was just amazed. I was flabbergasted, really, at the change that had taken place. It really was a different place.
What was that? What were the changes? I know folks are
interested. Primarily, it was a change from most people really having a sense of understanding that the God of the Bible was true and a real person that we could know, to a culture where relativism is really the order of the day, and naturalistic thought is really more informing the culture than Christian thought. To me, it was just like a slap in the face. It was so blatantly obvious because I'd been out of it for so long. But as I interacted with so many Christians, it was just like mass confusion. People realize, okay, things are changed, it's different, but what's going on? What's happened? And that made me begin to think about, well, how can I share my missionary skills with American Christians in a way that makes sense in modern American culture?
So in a sense, you became a missionary to the United States.
Yeah, essentially. And so that's how MarketFaith Ministries got started.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Wow.
Brother Tal.
Yeah. Tell us a little about your background and
I
how
heard he was a
you
pastor
incorporate.
somewhere. I'm not sure.
That's right. Right now, I'm an interim pastor of Calvary Way Baptist Church in Ellijay, Georgia. So I want to say hey to the folks at Calvary Way. But for the last 23 years, I worked at the North American Mission Board, and I've been on the show here a couple times in that process. And basically, what I did in that work was focus on what we call interfaith evangelism, which basically was teaching people and providing principles and ideas of how to share Christ effectively with people of other religions. Mm-hmm. So I have studied many of the world religions. I've studied the groups we might call cults or sects, and have learned how to do things and teach people how to be able to relate to those folks. And like Freddy was saying, sometimes we have to realize that they come at life from a totally different perspective. That's what we mean by worldview. Mm-hmm. They see things differently than we do. They have a different concept of what reality is and what is true and how we know truth. And so one of the things we have to do is try to provide principles that where we can bridge over those barriers of differences, cultural and spiritual, so that we can help them understand the basis of the Christian gospel, why we believe it's true, who Jesus Christ is, the nature of God. These are all issues that are fundamental to understanding about worldview issues.
Wow. Okay. It's interesting that both of you have sort of the missionary background, mm-hmm. and yet you're blowing away the typical missionary is, okay, I'm going to go to another country, a third world country. Mm-hmm. And here you are reintroducing the concept as, no, you're going to be a missionary right at your own workplace. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And honestly, I think that's a fundamental principle of our Christian faith, that we are to be missionaries in the world. You know, we've been called not just the professionals, but everyone has been called by God into full-time Christian ministry, if you will, and we need to have the skills to be able to minister the gospel in a culture that is really a post-Christian culture. It's alien to the gospel, and we need to be able to do that.
And that's an incredible statement. It's post-Christian. You know, in the modern day, at the 21st century, with all the conveniences of media, to say that we're in a post-Christian atmosphere is incredible to me.
Well, you know, seeing these young people, and by the way, I'm exhausted just watching them, but seeing their faces and seeing their expressions and knowing that I'm sure most of them, if not all of them, have a personal relationship with Christ. They're going to a Christian college, so they have a basic understanding of Christianity. But I think they're the exception, particularly among young people today. Yeah. They really don't have a basic understanding of who God is, what the Bible says. They've been taught the Bible's not true, and they shouldn't even bother reading it. They don't know who Jesus is, except maybe as some kind of historical figure that mm-hmm. they've read about somewhere, but they don't really know what difference he makes and what he's done for them by his death and resurrection. So what Freddy and I see as our goal is to assist churches and Christian groups, colleges, anywhere we can, to help educate our Christian people about these other concepts, these other worldviews. And several reasons for that. One is that we're going to encounter those people everywhere we go. Right. You know, they're our neighbors now. People who live next door who are Hindus and Buddhists and Muslims and you name it, they're all over. And then secondly, because some of these groups are very aggressive. They're trying to win Christians to their religions. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of people fall into that trap and go into these groups. And then thirdly, we have a responsibility. God has given us a responsibility and a privilege to share Christ with people from all over the world. And of course, we've got a great opportunity here in America now, unlike any other time, because the world is here.
Well, let me ask you that. How do you then go about equipping the average Joe mentally to be a water cooler witness, mm-hmm. Right there at work when there's a great chance he's the minority. There, unfortunately nowadays, you said post-Christian world, there's a mm-hmm. good chance you could get in trouble for it. Right. And because I think one issue that I'm sure a lot of people have with witnessing to their coworkers is this is my coworker. If they reject me, or if I say something that really upsets them, I'm stuck with them every day from now, and I'm sure that has got to be a huge wall. How do you, approach these people? How do you equip them for that kind of battlefield?
Well, I think the first part of that has to do with the individual Christian. We have to understand that that the Christian faith really does represent the truth about reality. God is a real person that we can know in an objective personal relationship. And when we get to the place where we personally know that, then the confidence to be able to speak about that just soars. But then beyond that, there's a knowledge base that we have to equip ourselves with. And I think this is a place where Christians fall way short. We don't equip ourselves with the knowledge base. But then after that, it's a matter of relationship. You can beat somebody over the head with the Bible, or you can be their friend and have mutual respect one towards another. And with that kind of respect, you can hear what they say, they can hear what you say, you can discuss it, you can talk about it, you can share, and at the right time, God's going to use that to open their hearts.
Goodness. Well, I wish we had so much time. We could spend the whole hour of these fellows, because you guys are full of knowledge, and we need to hear this kind of thing because we know that time is drawing short. We don't have a lot of time.
That's right.
We have so many, and of course we talked in the green room about the Muslim faith is really coming on strong, and we know this is prophetic. We know that it has to happen according to Scripture. But how do people like us who are Christians prepare ourselves to, and not to do battle, that's the wrong word, but to meet head on and to be effective in our witness? You understand what I'm trying to ask? When it comes to somebody in the Muslim faith, because we know it's just a matter of time before we're faced with this dilemma. How do we witness to these folks? How do we do that?
Yeah. Well, I think what Freddy said is very true. I think the essential ingredient is to be willing to reach out in friendship and in love, Christ's love, to show them that we're not afraid of them. I think Muslims believe that Christians are all afraid of them. And that we're reluctant to ever talk to them, and that we think they're all terrorists or something, and that's not accurate. But we need to be willing to step out and talk to them and talk to them about their religion. Ask them what they believe and find out just how deep they're committed to their religion. One of the things I've learned is a lot of people may embrace a certain religious view, but they're really not committed to it. And so it doesn't take a lot to just sort of bring them to a personal discussion of who God is and who Jesus is, and to invite them to study carefully the Bible. One thing you can do for a Muslim is just give them a Bible. Give them a New Testament. They call it the Injil, the Gospel. And tell them to read about Jesus. Read the book of John, for example, and ask them to read it. And then say, listen, I'd like to know, what is your opinion? What do you think of Jesus? What do you think of this? And that way, you're giving them the opportunity, and you're showing them respect for their views, and then that leads into a good discussion.
I think that's important, to respect
part
of it, but I think it's the genuineness too. Somebody,
absolutely.
If you're genuine, then those things just sort of happen genuinely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you're saying, though, and that goes with the workplace as well, is creating that friendship so that it doesn't feel like that traditional witnessing time. It's a conversation that you're having. Here's my point of view, here's your point of view, and we're discussing about it. Wow, I can't believe the time just flew by like that. We easily could have taken up so much more time. So definitely check out their website, www.marketfaith.org. And as we pointed out, Freddy Davis has got a lot of resources. Definitely check out the church that Tal Davis is interim. I see. Everybody has a problem with that. Yep.
Fast.
I rubbed off on
Easy for you to say, right?
But thank you so much, guys.
Yes, thank you so